I think what we should do is anybody that applies for a license has to be approved by the city council. Or would that be hard to do?
No.
All licenses for refuge haulers be approved by city council.
Right.
Or
Well,
help me.
Well, we're asking for, the ordinance currently reads that we don't put a limit, or there is no ordinance that addresses this.
But they have to have a license.
So a simple thing to say, if you want to hold off, if you want to put a hold on any new license applications for a year, or something to that effect, would then accomplish what you want. I would rather see that than us having to go through the application process and trying to decide whether or not we want another hauler or not. So, and your underlying intent is to study this issue for the next year and make a recommendation next year as to how we want to handle the whole refuse.
No, I said if we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did make a moratorium on building size one night, a special meeting.
But that's
the other thing.
That's different. That's okay?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor, if I can just interject, I think it's fine, again, to make a motion tonight that you're not going to grant any more licenses. If the direction, though, is that you might consider what is called organized collection, that is where the city is divided up into sections and one company gets one section and another company gets another section. There are a bunch of procedural requirements for doing that as well. A public hearing is required, and the companies that are here in town have rights to come in and talk to you about that. And so if that's the direction it takes, we would have to do some other stuff. If that's not the direction, you can just say we're not going to grant more licenses.
Yeah.
So I think the motion is fine.
Okay.
As is.
Thanks. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that one? No, we didn't.
He said,
Well, he withdrew his first motion, so.
he said it was fine, as we all know.
The moratorium language, we ditched that? Okay.
Yeah, I've clarified that it's just is the council saying we're not going to grant.
So you're second. Okay.
Go ahead. Second.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to have the quotation marks moratorium for the next 12 months until we can get to the bottom of what's going on in the garbage business.
Well, I thought that's what mine was.
And then yours is a second, right? And I'm just saying, thank God we have audio and visual recording for all of the motions that go into the motion.
You can't hear it anyway.
So, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Wait a minute.
Okay, sorry. Discussion. Sorry, Mr. Coop. Sorry.
Holy
Sorry about
cow.
that. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's getting late. Discussion.
I don't think this is well done. And the reason I'm saying that is that there's no thought whatsoever towards monopolistic pricing on the two companies that are the winners in this. I don't know when people's contracts come due, when their prices, can be jacked up. We have no controls over the prices. We have no controls over anything except we're going to limit it to two companies, assuming it's going to be two companies in a year. And I'm not saying that there's no reason we can look into this, but I think before we start saying we're not going to issue any licenses to anyone, we should give this a little more thought and consideration over the fact that we are creating monopolies, private monopolies in this town to do the garbage business. I mean, now, as of now, you have two companies to choose from, and we know how the prices are going to go when there's only two companies, and that's up. So, I would say we should probably be the smarter thing to do is to send this to one of the committees and look at this a little bit and kind of think this through before we quickly just say, okay, these are the only two garbage companies we're going to have in this town for a year. And whatever the unintended consequences are, that's what we're going to force on everybody to live with.
Mr. Chairman, the reason I brought this up was not because of cost, because they're ruining our roads. That's why I want less garbage trucks. I don't want 60 garbage trucks going up and down my street. I want one.
Mr. Coop's point is.
Yeah, but the reason I brought it up is because of wrecking the roads,
I
not
get
because
it.
of the price.
I get it. I totally get it. And I've received a letter from my new garbage hauler, Waste Management, and they said that they assured me that my rates wouldn't be going up for a year. But that doesn't really, I mean, and I think on a practical level, there are no other, there's just two garbage haulers that are in this market right now. Waste Management, which owns the world as far as waste, as refuse hauling, and Elite, which is based out of Jordan, if I'm not mistaken. So on a practical level, there probably isn't going to be anybody coming through town, but Mr. Coop makes a point, and that is that, you know, we're locking in these two companies, and they theoretically could do whatever they wanted. Now, if we pass this resolution, or if we pass a different resolution that has really more to, you know, I mean, we'll go back to maybe approving every application that comes to town, we're still essentially going to have two haulers. But I think the real point here is what are we going to do, and what are we going to use this next year for? Because we've been wrestling with this thing for 4 or 5 years. So.
Mr. Mayor, when I made my motion, I said that I had my quotation marks moratorium there.
Right. Until
we can sort things out and get some rhyme and reason to this situation. Right now, we don't know what's going on. And so it's by guess and by gosh. And so what I'd like to see us do is have this studied and some recommendations come forward to the council.
Right.
I'm not saying that we should create another Big Brother or something like that, as it seems to be the thought in the chair not too far from me. And it's one of those things that I think we have to address it. And it's not going to get addressed just by pandering around with statements that don't mean a whole lot. So I think we're indeed on the right path, contrary to another opinion expressed.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, discussion?
Well, I would just suggest that if your rates go up for garbage pickup, that you should direct it to the people responsible, the city council, which is creating the monopoly of two.
They guaranteed the rates for a year,
For some,
for everybody,
for some.
everybody.
Did both companies guarantee the rates?
No, the one other cut, they're cheaper than they were. Mine's cheaper now, cheaper than it ever has, I signed. People that don't check on their prices aren't going to know about it. No.
Right. Well, I think the council is taking some responsibility, and maybe that's Mr. Coop's point, and that we are taking some responsibility here, but we've been talking about it for a long time, whether or not we want a contract, whether we, you know, to